Okay, this is not going to be a healthcare video tonight. This is something enormously important regarding our future in politics altogether. As we all know, the healthcare bill on the table right now is basically crap, and everybody is criticizing it, and it should just completely go up in flames as far as I'm concerned. Now, whether you come, from from a libertarian perspective or a progressive perspective or whatever, this bill is absolutely no good that came out of the Gang of Six, so to speak. So let's pause for a moment and go to something else, to another subject. So if you think that corporations run the government now, wait what's coming down the pike next, because as expected, the Supreme Court may just allow corporations to spend unlimited amounts of money on behalf of their favorite candidates. And I'm going to be reading excerpts from several blog sites today. I can't remember where I got all this information from. I collected during 10-minute breaks or something like that. So one of the posters called DD Day, I think that came from the site Decos. I try to give credit where it's due. First of all, the Colbert Report, last night featured one of the most subversive and brutally honest half hours of television in recent memory. It's a sad commentary that it takes a comedy program to provide more news and information on one of the most critical subjects in American politics that anywhere else has been totally ignored in our broken media and political landscape. Colbert spent 2 full segments of his show focusing on the case of Citizens United Supreme Court case, and that will possibly will lead to deregulating the entire campaign finance process, allowing corporations to give unlimited amounts of money to any candidate of their choosing. Now, of course, Colbert couches it in a very humorous way. I will most definitely post a link to anybody that I come across who uploads the video of this show. I can't get that channel here, comedy channel. So somebody, I'm sure, on YouTube will post that segment. I want to flesh it out a little bit more in a serious manner so that you'll understand what's being talked about here. This month, the U.S. Supreme Court is threatening to strike down key provision of 2002 McCain-Feingold bipartisan campaign finance reform, overruling 2 of its prior rulings in the process and uprooting a century-old principle that corporations should be barred from making unlimited expenditures in elections. Corporations might soon be able to make unlimited expenditures. Can they do that? The answer is yes, if the Supreme Court says they can. The case that is being discussed is called Citizens United versus the Federal Elections Commission, which is being argued right now before the Supreme Court. The reason the court is hearing this case again for the second time is because in June, the court ordered that the scope of the case be dramatically expanded following its first oral argument in March. At that time, Citizens United, which is a conservative non-profit corporation, was focused upon the FEC's decision to treat the movie Hillary the Movie, its feature-length film criticizing Hillary Clinton during last year's Democratic primaries, as a standard attack ad for the purposes of campaign spending regulations. Citizens United, which is subject to campaign regulations because it accepts money from businesses, argued that the film did not constitute an electioneering communication. In other words, it was not defined by them as trying to influence on the electorate. Not surprisingly, the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, disagreed. However, once the court decided to hear the case, United Citizens, represented by Bush Solicitor General Ted Olson, began to push for massive changes in settled campaign finance law, arguing that corporations' speech, in other words, their expenditures and the money that they can spend on that, in elections was entitled to just as much protection under the First Amendment as speech by any individual citizen. This argument has been raised many times by conservatives and business leaders throughout the years and rejected repeatedly by the U.S. Supreme Court. While current federal law allows business corporations to form political action committees, and I might add unions are and private citizens are able to do that as well, with money collected from individuals associated with such corporations or entities, it clearly prohibits them from using that money from their general treasuries, where all their profit essentially is, to influence elections. Nevertheless, the conservative justices on the Roberts Court, that's the Supreme Court, and he is the Supreme Court judge, seem amendable to the argument that restrictions on corporate spending on elections were unconstitutional. What the court threatens to do now is to remove these restrictions and say that corporations can funnel unlimited amounts of money from their corporate coffers into elections. Citizens United, remember, this is the conservative business group, argues that because individuals can spend unlimited amounts of money to influence elections, corporations should be able to do so as well, in essence asserting that there is no difference whatsoever between major corporations and individuals when it comes to spending money on elections. The trouble with that argument, of course, is that individuals are not free to spend unlimited amounts on election and campaign financing. An individual is limited to $2,500. Now, who, as a private citizen, a normal average person, has $2,500 sitting in their bank account to contribute to anybody's campaign? Well, you can guess who. And these are the upper percentiles who are already wealthy. And so if little people band together and just give, $5, $10, $100 here and there, this is not the equivalent of spending the same amounts of money that the corporations, big corporate fat cats, have at their disposal to influence elections or buying people off. So this entire assertion and argument is or should be totally obvious to everybody, but especially to progressives who have been fighting, corporate voices for generations. If the court accepts this argument, it will be the undoing of over 100 years of progress in campaign finance, and this includes McCain-Feingold, by the way, a bipartisan campaign law, which established that corporations are distinct from individuals and must not be able to spend their profits in an unlimited way. So that's what's not being discussed while we're all talking about the healthcare thing. Just wanted to get that out there, and as soon as I find the appropriate links, I will most definitely link all of those to my video as well. Thanks for listening.